trustee meeting for Tuesday, November 14th, 2023. Is there a motion to open tonight's meeting? Trustee Rosen Asher, second. Trustee Galen, all in favor. Meeting is hereby open. Trustee Taylor is excused. Trustee Sullivan is running late. We expect her to be here shortly. And Trustee Rosenberg, is he here?
Somewhere.
He was here a minute ago.
I'm here. I'm
Okay.
here.
We have to be able to see him, though, right, Dan? Isn't that?
Ought to be on there, yeah.
Yeah, we have to see you.
Must be live.
My camera's on.
Yeah.
I can see me.
Just to be like a participant or something.
Yeah.
I am a
So
participant.
different than Laura Lee. Okay, so Trustee Rosenberg is appearing remotely. The address where he is appearing from has been properly noticed and is on the agenda. So can we all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, the first item on the agenda is an award that we received from the AAA for traffic safety that goes to Rob Barron, and a silver safety award to the Dobbs Ferry Police Department. Do we actually have those awards?
Oh, do we have the actual plaques?
Do we?
Yeah, we have two separate plaques.
Is Rob Barron here to accept his award tonight?
Someone accept on his behalf.
We do have someone from the police department to accept the Silver Safety Award, which when we get it, we will be happy to hand out. If she can't find it, well, we can just move on.
No, we have them in the, I know we have them, right? I have my fingerprints on them.
Does this go to Rob Barron personally for his work on behalf of the village, or is this going to the traffic committee?
Yeah, this is the traffic safety hero of the year, Rob Barron.
Oh, wow.
Congratulations. I don't know if the camera can pick that up, but anyway, display it proudly. It says nominated by the Dobbs Ferry Police Department in recognition of your success and continuing effort to educate and protect the citizens of your community. AAA salutes your commitment to traffic safety presented this year.
Nice, very good, nice.
Congratulations.
Well deserved, Rob.
Yeah.
What do we have for the police department? You know what, let me, let's come up to the, let's present it, so let's make it a formal thing. That's it?
That's the plaque. It got moved, it should have had a seatbelt.
Wow. Rob Barron's much nicer than.
So, do you want to swap them, or? And the silver award, just so you know, is awards, it's a given to the outstanding communities based on the efforts to improve local traffic safety for all modes of travel. So, well done. Yeah, pick up. Sorry?
That was a pretty basic looking award.
Yes. Budget cuts.
Okay, next on the agenda is a public hearing. This is a public hearing on the zoning text amendment to authorize flexibility in the assessment of fees in connection with special permits and building permits for accessory dwelling units. Is there a motion to open up tonight's public hearing? Trustee Patino, second trustee Rosen Asher, all in favor. Public hearing is hereby open. Valerie, do you want to give us the history, the background, and?
Well, I think, so I'll just give you a very brief history and then just kind of give you a status of where this project is. So I think there was a
Valerie, can
concern.
you just introduce yourself? Sorry.
Oh,
for context.
I'm sorry, yes.
Yes,
Doing that.
happened last
Valerie Menastra from Nelson Pope and Voorhees, the planning consultant for the village. There was concern raised by the Affordable Housing Committee concerning the recreation fees for accessory dwelling units, and wanted the village board to consider options in terms of either reducing or waiving accessory dwelling unit fees. Lori Lee provided the board some suggestions in terms of, because it really goes to the fee schedule as opposed to any other place in your code. And the board asked for a recommendation from the planning board. The planning board deliberated at its last meeting, and they're still in the process of deliberating. And so they would like a little bit more time to provide back a recommendation. And so that's where we are right now.
Okay, so since this is a public hearing and people from the public may be here to talk about that, is there anyone from the public who'd like to speak about that? Okay, is there anybody from the board that wants to speak about it?
Yeah, go ahead, man.
No, just, I had a chance over the weekend to speak to Tracy Barron and Rob Lane. And they're, as chairs of the Affordable Housing Task Force, their strong point of view is that the draft law should call for the elimination of fees on ADUs and not merely place it in as flexibility for the planning board, in light of not knowing whether a future planning board might take a particularly dim view of ADUs and across the board not show flexibility around fees. So I believe I am speaking for the chairs by saying that the Affordable Housing Task Force has a point of view that fees should be eliminated, not simply be flexible.
I'm not sure that's quite, is that legal, if we could even do that? I think you can't do a wholesale waiver of recreation fees. You have to look at each, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Dan, but you have to look at the impact on the village's recreation system as it is on an individual case-by-case type basis. Is that correct?
That is correct. And also, the planning board in this situation would only be making a recommendation to the building inspector. And the building inspector would have the ultimate authority to set the fee.
So the building inspector can look at it, at the impact that that property would have in light of also what the planning board suggests, and then make a decision.
Correct.
You just can't say wholesale, we're going to waive all fees for ADUs.
Correct.
Okay. Go
I
ahead.
have a couple things. I agree that the fee should be waived. The reason that we want to do that is that we would like to encourage people to file and permit legally their ADUs. So far, over a year of this ADU law being in effect, I think we've had one application. So we're not talking about a lot of rec fees. If you look at our
You just
neighboring
said it was illegal,
communities,
though. You just said it can't be done.
let me finish. Hastings, Irvington, I believe Croton on Hudson, and I think a couple more have no rec fees for their ADUs. I'm not sure how they get around that, but I think it is worth looking into. So it is done in that way in other communities. I think that putting the responsibility to set the fee or waive the fee into the planning board's hands is sort of just passing it along, right? And I think we should make a decision about what that should be, whether it's nothing or some small amount, if nothing's not feasible, although I believe that it is. Because I don't think the planning board should be assessing people's financial ability to cover that fee. And they're looking at a certain number of things. It's already complex enough, and I just don't think we should be adding to that. And I also don't think it should go to the building inspector, to to make a discretionary call about this person or that person should get it or shouldn't get it. I think we should just set as policy what that is and move on to
Right.
it.
If we can't waive it, can we make it $1?
I think, well, it's public hearings, you can come up and talk.
I agree with everything that Michael just said. I think that's exactly right. And I think if it's not,
Who are you?
Patty Steinschneider, 329 Broadway, Dobbsbury, New York, come and see me on the first Saturday of December. Try and figure out who I am. So the way around it could be that the fee for an ADU, I think $1 would be too small. I think $10, something like that, that's just fee and you pay it, and that way we don't have any problem with the law. It's very simple. I think it's incredibly important to get this. And not only, I think we will see some ADUs coming forward, because you've got, as Valerie's already working on it, I think that's your December conversation, or maybe even January, February. But the idea is we need to get the existing ADUs that are in the village but are not legalized.
Right,
So this will help get that, and that's a matter of safety,
right.
which is good.
Okay, Dan, so, Dan Posen, so if you can examine what trustee Patino has raised as far as the other communities and how they've done it, if it's legal, you can give us your legal opinion next time, that would be great.
Will do.
Okay, anybody else from the public want to speak? Okay, just about this for now.
Rob Lane, 228 Judson Avenue. I'm one of the co-chairs of the Affordable Housing Task Force. Because I'm on the planning board, I want to be very clear, I'm not speaking for the planning board. We're not done. Some people, we're want to do research. And research is a term of art for find out what your neighbors do, which we're doing, and we'll report at the next, back out to you at the next planning board meeting. Our initial research, as Mike was saying, shows that our other communities do not charge a rec fee. Hastings does not charge a rec fee. Irvington does not charge a rec fee. Some of the other places that we are originally part of our ADU research, Croton, Yorktown, Summers, do not charge a rec fee. Now, what the mechanism for that is, I don't know. I don't know if there's somehow it's just an automatic sort of administrative dismissal of something that is technically on the books, or if it's somehow ambiguous, or if it's explicitly says somewhere in the code that ADUs are not required to have a recreation fee. And Dan, that's research that our task force is happy to help you do to find out exactly how it's done. But I'm not sure that it doesn't in some ways feel more problematic to me to sort of charge, if the issue is somehow, from what I understand, that we're somehow discriminating against one population, I'm not sure how charging $10 or 50 cents or anything lower than the other fees gets us around that. I will tell you the one thing that the planning board was all on the same page about is we don't want discretion around this. We started speculating about how do we decide what this impact is, and it's just, we don't want it. So I think we need to make a kind of decision here. I would recommend, pending the rest of our research, that we consider eliminating it altogether. But I don't know what the best language way is to accomplish that.
Okay, so it sounds like the best thing to do is to adjourn this public hearing for the planning board to finish their research and for Dan to finish your research, right?
I
Okay,
think so. I think it won't take long. I think at the next meeting, we should, well, the next planning board, I guess we have to meet.
Yeah.
And then we'll have something.
okay. Anybody else want to speak about that before I adjourn it? Okay, so if I adjourn it to, what do you feel comfortable with? December 12th, or you tell me?
It's all right with me.
You're doing the research, Dan.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
December 12th?
Sure.
Okay.
28th of-
Or the 28th of November?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Rather go to 12.
Okay. All right, so,
We won't be planning board. Our next meeting.
So you think December 12th, you will not have an answer by
You will.
No, you will.
We will.
Not the
No,
first Thursday?
When's the first Thursday?
Yeah, it's
not
probably
the
like the
28th,
7th.
but
or-
yes, the 12th.
Right, the December 12th is, that's got to be after, right? Yep.
Okay. All right, so is there a motion to adjourn tonight's public hearing until December 12th, 2023 at 7:30? Trustee Rosenberg, second. Trustee Rose and Asher, all in favor. The meeting, the public hearing is hereby adjourned to December 12th. Next public hearing is the application for site plan approval for a property at 555 Broadway, also known as Mercy University. Is there a motion to open the public hearing concerning Mercy University? Trustee Galen, second. Trustee Rosen Asher, all in favor? The public hearing is hereby open. I guess we could start with you. Tell us who you are and who you represent and why are you here?
Fabulous. My name is Taryn Ramey. I'm an associate at the law firm of McCullough, Goldberger, and Stout. Joining me tonight is Tom Simmons, the Vice President for Facilities and Operations at Mercy University, George Hibbs, who's a principal at Clark Caton Hintz, and joining us via Zoom is Steve Loria of Woodard and Curran. We are all here tonight on behalf of Mercy University in connection with its request for amended site plan approval for proposed improvements to its existing athletic field on campus. These are improvements that will modernize existing facilities and will further reduce any impacts on neighboring properties, the nearby landing residences in particular. So it's our goal this evening for the board to consider closing the public hearing, issuing a neg deck under SECRA, and granting amended site plan approval for this application. And since we were last before you, we appeared before the planning board and AHRB in October, who voted unanimously to waive the public hearing and to adopt a positive recommendation on this application, subject to the requirements that we address the outstanding comments from the village's consultants. And so before I turn it over to Tom and George, who can take you through the project in greater detail, I just wanted to highlight a few additions to our submission that was made since our initial appearance before this board. Significantly, we included a lighting plan that shows that the glow from the digital scoreboard will not impact neighboring properties, in particular the landing. And we also submitted written responses to the comments from AI engineers concerning impervious coverage and the location of the proposed concrete washout area. And we also submitted revised site plan drawings addressing the same. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Tom, who could take you through the project.
Good evening, I'm Tom Simmons from Mercy College.
Mercy University.
Mercy University. Thank you, Mayor.
Yep.
So, good evening. Last time, we gave you some background slides, just of some work that has happened at the college. Recently, I was not going to show that again tonight unless you wanted to. I was going to go right to our project. So there's 4 components to this project. New dugouts on the ball field side of the baseball piece. Currently, we use tents there. We put like temporary tents up every year. So this will just put a normal-sized dugout there and a press box and a little storage room on each end. We think this is an added enhancement to the field to just make it what traditionally a field like this would have.
The second component is netting. We showed you details on that last time. That's just to protect cars and pedestrians and things off the field. Just standard what you would have, a little bit higher and a little bit longer than what we have currently. We have some issues with parked cars getting broken windows and dents on them and things like that from foul balls. The third component is twofold on the signage. One, we have just a small display sign, like a 4x6 sign at the entrance of the field that will just have a very small panel, like I said, about 4x6 feet, that will just display things like games or coming events or what's happening on that field. And then we have a new scoreboard. As I had mentioned to you last time, we currently have a scoreboard that's on a rolling trailer piece that we roll in on the side and the back of the library that's been there for a couple of years. It's not the greatest setup. It's hard for people to see. So we have, through our great athletic consultants, researched the size of what would be an appropriate scoreboard for that full-size turf field. What our peers has, it's a 20 by 25 scoreboard. We had some pictures and photo ops that were put together to show you scale and proportion last time, and I think the planning board saw that also and thought that it felt appropriate with the size of the field when we showed the viewing end from where pedestrians or at the end of the field would be. And with that, as Taryn had mentioned, we wanted to keep in mind that this field is not lit, so there isn't night activity there for games or things like that. So the question by your planning consultants about illumination of that video panel on the scoreboard does not put any foot candles behind it. That would be what the neighbors might be concerned about, but we have no plans of outside of dusk when games end of having the scoreboard be functional in that way. And then last but not least, there's a sound system. We showed you last time that there'll be 3 poles for 3 speakers on the top of the seating along the hillside, which is pretty similar to what we do now. Right now, we use just a portable PA system, and there's 2, I think, 15-inch sound speakers that are put on each end of that. So we're planning on one at each end of that area and one on top of the press box, and then one over by the first base side before the dugout. And when baseball occurs right now, that portable system I mentioned to you is placed over on the other side and points the other way as people announce the batter and things that happen along those lines. So that's a summary of it. Taryn will just help me with a couple of the slides here. This gives you an idea when you're standing on the far side of the field, entering the gate of the scale of the scoreboard as it goes on the end of where it's placed. Another view just a little bit farther down along the fence line. This shows if you're standing on the landing property, and then our property is equal to about those tree line or those pines, and it shows you the back of the scoreboard from that wide. So I think we've put it in a spot that's sensitive to everything. It doesn't prohibit any of the use of the green area behind it as it's currently used. It's right adjacent with the fence that surrounds the field. There's another view of the scoreboard. It's tough to see, but it's in line with the fence line, right on the edge there. So we think that that works well for the Mercy University scoreboard. These are the hillside stone seating that we put in probably about 4 years ago with a project, and that lets you see the scoreboard also. And then you'll see on the left where the press box is right now. And usually when a game goes on, we roll in that scoreboard to be adjacent down where those 2 cars are on the upper part on the end there. You can see part of it there. These are just some photos of what exists right now for the dugouts and where the footprint will be placed in the same spot where we currently have the temporary tents. And then this, something the consultants had asked for on your end, The three orange dots on the right side are the locations of the three speaker poles, the center one on top of the press box, and the other two adjacent to the stairs that go down, that angle down at the seating on each end. And the fourth one is over by the first base dugout.
And where's the landing in relation to that?
The landing property would be maybe 50 feet or so, 100 feet past where the scoreboard is down on the bottom. Just some cross-sections of the dugouts. We went through that in pretty good detail. George did with the planning board. I think they were happy with, the CMU, split face, ground face construction and the canted roof. It's pretty standard construction. The netting that we referenced on the height. One more with the netting. And then I think the last one is well, that gives you an idea of the scale of the scoreboard and the sign panel on the front. And then this is that lighting plan that your consultants had asked us for. The center image represents the scoreboard. And as you can see, there's minimal light levels from basically a very large TV screen, one of these LED panels. There's no lights on it other than the panel itself. And you really get no drop off or anything, illumination on the backside.
And just to point out, the property line is here, so the landing residences are behind this line, so there's no lighting impact on the landing. And that concludes it for our slides.
Okay. Valerie, can you speak to, I know you had sent a memo with the concerns. Can you speak to those concerns?
So what we did, what I provided you was a memo of the last time both myself and Anthony Oliveri, who's the village engineer, reviewed the plans. What we were proposing or suggesting as part of any resolution that the board considers, that the final conditions are that the applicant addresses all of our concerns, which really were, he had some specific engineering, some minor stuff, but just stuff that needs to be dealt with in terms of additional information that's required as part of the site plans. And then my things I raised were dealing with light and noise and just asking them to provide some additional information. So if the board decides to move forward, there is a resolution in your package which specifically asks that the applicant has to address all the conditions that are still remaining in both my memo as well as Anthony's memo, and that we would review final site plans before they get signed.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from the board? Any questions or comments from the public regarding this issue? Okay. Since there's no more comments, I guess I'll close the public hearing. Is there a motion to close today's public hearing? Trustee Patino, second. Trustee Rosen Asher, all in favor. Public hearing is hereby closed. My inclination is to just follow what Valerie said, is to approve it pending the answers being provided to the village planner and the village engineer. That's what I would do. I don't know. That makes
I'm
sense
in
to you?
agreement, yeah.
Okay.
I agree.
Jessica?
Yep.
Okay. Tom, we would love to have, I don't know how much this is going to cost, but we'd love for you to use the LDC on this, but I don't know. We can't force you to do that, but you should consider that.
Yeah, we can have a
And,
conversation about that, sure.
Okay. So is there a motion to, I have that motion here, saying, I have the resolution in my packet? Okay. Okay, so hopefully going to hit the highlights. So is there a motion to approve the conditional site plan for the project at Mercy University, whereas the Village Board of Trustees, in its capacity as lead agency for the environmental review of the project in accordance with SECRA, finds that there's no significant adverse impacts associated with the approval of the project and adopts a negative declaration in connection therewith. Be it further resolved that the Village Board of Trustees determines that based upon the findings and reasoning set forth herein, the application of site plan approval in connection with the project is hereby granted, subject to the following conditions, and those conditions are laid out in the resolution. Is there a motion, as I outlaid it, and is mentioned in the resolution itself? Trustee Rosen Asher, second. Trustee Patino, all in favor? That passes unanimously, so good luck.
Thank you so much.
The next is a presentation by the Youth Services Council. So, no? That's what it says. Youth Services
Coalition.
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 Someday I'll get that straightened out.
I'm going to explain it all.
Good. I'll take notes.
So my name is Melissa Diodati, and I know some of you, and I don't know some of you. I am the Dobbsbury Coalition Coordinator for Youth Services, and I've been in this position since August of 2022. My professional background is in social work, specifically domestic violence, mental health, and sexual assault. I want to start off by telling you how the coalition was established. In 2015, members of the council had put together an application for the Drug Free Communities Grant, or DFC. They put together this application, and it included the intent to demonstrate the need for federal funds in order to support prevention, education, and messaging regarding the drug and alcohol misuse-related issues in our village. Dobbsbury was then awarded the 10-year grant, $125,000 a year, and it was granted in September 2015. Again, it is a 10-year grant, so the grant funding will be over in September 2025, which is important to note. I can't tell you much about the council because I'm not on that, on the council, but there is a former chairperson here, right, who can answer any questions if you do have questions about that. Our mission is to prevent and reduce the use of harmful substances among our youth by providing education, prevention tools, leadership training, and workshops. Our target group is grades 6 through 12, and the coalition is comprised of 12 sectors. So to name a few, we have healthcare, we have law enforcement, we have parents, adults, volunteer groups, local government, to name a few. The 12 sectors, it helps us when they're engaged to ensure the consistent messaging and community support. And it also highlights the importance of diverse community involvement to represent the youth of our community. We meet once a month, and actually this month and next month we are starting to meet twice a month to accommodate everybody's schedule. So one meeting is in the evening and one meeting is during the day. We discuss trends both locally and nationwide. We vet and plan to host speakers. We plan our participation in community events, and we plan coalition events. We collaborate with other groups, and most recently, we just entered into a partnership with several other Westchester coalitions to provide trainings, webinars, speakers, and further events. One thing that's very, very important is that the coalition has a huge impact on school counseling. The coalition funds the school counselor, the prevention counselor, 2 days a week. So we partially fund that position, and the school pays for the other 3 days. That's important because this was a part-time position before, and now it's a full-time position. And again, when the funding ends, it would revert back to a part-time position unless funding is secured. I have a lot of meaningful collaboration with the prevention counselor, Ms. Blanche. She does a tremendous amount of work. She has a youth club. She and I research and host speakers for the parents, the middle school, and the high school. She facilitates prevention education series in the health classes. And this is a series that's focusing on alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs. It focuses on decision-making, resisting peer pressure, refusal skills, and stress management. As we learn more and more that there is a huge intersection between mental health and substance abuse. As we learn more about that, and it's called co-occurring disorders, in light of that, we will have further speakers and educational materials to help to bring that awareness about. Another thing that happened in October was Red Ribbon Week, which is a nationwide campaign. It's for drug and alcohol prevention awareness. There were activities and resources given. And where we don't want to be just laser focused on our messaging saying, don't do this, don't do that, we want to have supportive, healthy activities for the kids. Which brings me to some of the things that we have done. We have hosted open gym nights, which is very popular. We've had athletic tournaments. One of our open gyms, one of our first ones, we had about 40 kids. And I was really hoping for a better turnout, for more kids. And then a wonderful person on the coalition said to me, that's 40 kids that aren't sitting there behind a screen at home, isolated, or using harmful substances. And if you look at it like that, it's a win. It's 40 kids, so it's a win. So we want to continue doing that. We also want to do workshops. We hosted a Hidden in Plain Sight. If you don't know, that's where we create a mock teen's bedroom. And there are hidden substances such as a flask and a bracelet, compartments in clothes that hide substances, vapes that look like highlighters and other common household items. So we hosted that. We also hosted great speakers such as Chris Herron and Matt Bellis. We also hosted a speaker just to specifically speak to the high school seniors about transitioning to higher education and what that means for their mental health and how important that is. We hosted an overpouring prevention class for local bars. We held a Narcan training. We had panel discussions, including the DA's office, local law enforcement, and healthcare professionals. We hold pro-social events in collaboration with other coalitions, and we participate in community events. We hosted the Color Run, the Aquafest, and we created prom bags for all the prom goers, which we actually had middle school kids write little messages and little safety messages about having fun at prom, and we filled it with candy, and they each got one of those. So it was really nice to see the collaboration between the two of them. I also frequently attend trainings and consult with our wonderful youth officer to stay informed on current drug trends and information. Some of the drugs out there are truly, truly terrifying, but that's a topic for another day. As I said, the federal funding, which is $125,000 a year, is going to end in 2025, which seems like a long time from now, but it really isn't when we talk about sustainability. Some of the upcoming things we want to do is we plan to host an award-nominated documentary. Again, more of our open gym nights and athletic tournaments, which the high school kids seem to love too. We're planning a project with seniors and students, partnership and a project. And we plan to have more community educational events, creating healthy activities for the youth. We're also recently talking about partnering with a local youth running club, so that's exciting. And lastly, all of that stuff is the good news and all the good stuff that we've done and I've had a lot of help with. But if the funding is gone, all of that will go away. And so we need to think about sustaining that and what that looks like. So in talking with some other coalitions, some of them have created like a position in the village or town. Some of it's part-time and some of it's full-time. And some have become a 501c3, which has proven to be more difficult. So in closing, the coalition plays an integral part in educating our youth and simultaneously promoting their health and wellness. And I leave you with that, and I thank you for your ongoing support.
Thank you very much for that. We really appreciate it, and you're right, 2025 is right around the corner, so we could start looking at that. So, any other comments or questions?
Is there a possibility of more federal funding, or is that it was a one-time?
This particular grant is a one and done.
And just for clarity, did you say that at the beginning that it was $125,000 over 10 years, so 12,500 per year for 10 years, or was?
No.
No,
125,000 per year.
per year. Gotcha. So I was gonna say, that was a lot to do with 12,000.
Yeah, I was the liaison when we did that, right? Lisa, right, you were the chair at that time too, and so it was exciting stuff, and we've done a lot with it, so thank you for that, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, it's courtesy of the floor. Does anyone have anything to say about anything? Now's your chance.
So I came here because I want to ask.
Who are you?
Oh, I'm Viddy, and I live on Ashford Avenue, Viddy Kodwala. And I actually came here I'm like 2 blocks away from Bolt Park, and I was wondering when the sidewalk would be fixed so we could, because there's no, on the other side, there's no button for a walk sign, so it's actually pretty dangerous to cross over.
Yeah, I'll give you a little update. We started construction 6 weeks ago or so, and we realized immediately that that was going to be a problem. So we have spoken to the contractor about installing the drop curbs, a button on the other side of the park.
Okay.
So that you'd be able to, make all 4 street crossings there. We're going to expedite that so it happens, so that part will be done before the whole project is done, which is scheduled for the late spring, early summer. I don't know if you noticed, but initially the button on Washington and the corner of the park was enclosed by the fence, but we moved that back, so at least now you can, for the time being, until those curbs are done, you can push the button. So we're getting there. It's probably going to be a few more weeks. Hopefully,
Hopefully by early
what do you,
next year.
Dan, maybe a month? I don't know. We're working on it. We want to get it done as quickly as possible. I live 3 houses up from the
Yeah.
park also, so I realize what an issue it is. So it's coming.
Perfect. Thank you. And the other thing is, I actually don't know if I should talk to you guys about this, but who makes the sirens, the fire alarm? Who do I call to make it stop at 8 p.m. instead of 9 p.m.? Because I called the fire department and they told me they can't do anything.
Well, it's really the fire department issue, but,
I called the mayor. I wrote a letter to the mayor. They said call the fire department.
Right.
I called the fire department multiple times. But
I
we
think the
live
fire
right next door.
I think
I'm
we
like,
responded to that. I think the fire department said that they,
they just told me how back in the day it was like 24 hours and
Right.
now they're closing at 9. But I'm like their next door neighbor. There's just a driveway between us, and I
Right.
have a 20-month-old and a 4-year-old, and they go to bed early, and
Right.
when that goes off, it wakes everyone up.
I do remember.
I just wanted to stop at 8 p.m. That's it. So.
Right, I do remember you sent it in, and I do remember the fire department responded, but I don't remember what their response was. So maybe
their
if you
response
want,
was basically
Rob,
like, no.
the village administrator will look into it, and we can get back to you on that.
That would be great. I just
Okay.
to stop it at 8 p.m. Yeah.
I don't want to hold that much hope for you, I understand.
I know. I'll do more work. Should I just keep calling them? I don't know what to do. It's just
No, I'm
I
not-
plan to live here for like 20 years.
Right.
My kids are like so young.
Right,
It's a problem.
right, but there's probably a reason why they go to 9 o'clock, so, but we'll go over that again, and we can see what we can do for you. I'm not saying I'm going to be able to move it back to 8 o'clock for you, but we could address it and talk to you about why we do it and what can be done.
Awesome.
Okay?
Thank you.
Okay, so I don't know if you can just maybe give your contact information?
Give you my card.
Okay. And I realized I've skipped a presentation, so I'm sorry about that. So, Valerie, you want to come up and, is that your thing? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, okay, I will. I'll finish it, you're right. Anybody here for courtesy of the floor? Anybody online for courtesy of the floor? No. Okay, that's it.
All right, so one more item this evening. We, a couple work sessions ago, or actually a couple workshops ago, we presented a draft of request for qualifications on some village-owned properties. We The village board provided feedback along with some members of the Affordable Housing Committee and asked for a number of revisions. The revisions are redlined in your document, but basically I'll just do a quick summary. First, there was a request to specifically provide a definition of affordable housing based upon the village's affordable housing law. So that is on page 2 of the document. There was also a specific request in terms of providing a little bit more information on the 2019 Westchester County Housing Needs Assessment in the request for qualifications. So that was added on page 4 of the document. There was also a very specific request in terms of emphasizing a couple things. One, that the affordable housing units or that the project itself should be primarily affordable housing or as like 100% affordable housing. Specifically, there was also a request that the responders have experience with developing affordable housing projects. There was also specifically a request to make sure it is known that to any developers that are looking to respond, that the village recognizes that in order to create affordable housing, that a developer may need to seek variances, waivers, or zoning amendments to accommodate that vision. So that was put into the properties. And while we did refer to some of the 2010 downtown district design guidelines, there was a request to make sure that it was, that it's not so much that it's mandated as opposed to that the development is in character with the neighborhood. So we made sure we emphasized that.
Valerie, can you go back to page 5 for
Sure.
a second, though? So we seem to be weakening our desire for public parking at Cedar Street, because we said before, include retention of public parking. And now we
Yes.
seem to be adding as practicable
As
as
practical as
possible.
possible,
Where
yes.
did that
I
come
think
from?
the conversation last time was that the board recognized that you might not be able to replace all parking, or that maybe a combination between some of the parking for public spaces as well as the combination of the private spaces might have to be a little bit flexible. So we specifically noted as practical as possible.
Okay, and does that reflect what everyone's thoughts
No,
are?
I think that while there was some uh, conversation about the fact that we might not be able to retain all 66 spots, that it would not be acceptable to lose a lot of those spots. So like as practicable as possible is, there's a lot that can be characterized as not possible.
I just want to say this one thing. This is really important. If we require them to maintain all 66 spots, the project will never happen. Putting too harsh a demands on these projects kill them from the outset. So if we want this to not happen, we should say all 66 spots need to stay.
But it doesn't mention that. I'm just.
I know it doesn't. It shouldn't.
Right,
In
I'm not
fact,
saying it should, but I'm saying it's a retention of public parking. I mean, it should be, we want some public parking, right?
Right.
Right, but
Yeah,
I think what
but-
Michael is saying is, let's say someone comes up with a plan and there's 45 spots.
Right, that's
You
fine.
know, but it's also.
But it just seems to be that it could say, it's not
It's
practical
not like
to
all
have
those
any
spots are
public
being
parking.
used. If it was a
Right.
parking lot where every spot was being used, then it would be really important.
Right.
But the fact that 20% of those spots are used, or
I
25%
think
of those
they are
spots are
being
used.
used.
I'm not saying it should all be there.
Right,
I'm not
right.
saying a number, but it seems to be, this language seems to be saying, you don't even want, it's possible not to have any public parking.
Well, I mean, I think that will be ultimately, right, so you're going to get a number of different responses. Hopefully, you'll get a number of different responses, right? So if somebody comes in and says, I can't provide you anything, but another responder says, well, we can provide you 50 or 60% or more of those spaces, then the board can move forward with
Right.
the responder that's actually providing you the public parking.
Can we make
I
The
think
other
the
thing-
fact
that
that
a
we
decision criteria? Like just to emphasize the importance that we do retain public parking, can we make that part of the decision criteria?
I mean, it's in the document. It says
Right.
retain as much as you can.
Right.
So I think if you're putting in for an RFQ and you're serious, you're not going to ignore that.
Right.
You're going to put in what works for your feasibility study for financing. And that, I can tell you that's not 66 spaces. I don't know what number that is, but.
I'm not
I
saying.
also think we know that there is a large concentration of residents down by that lot, and they do use the lot overnight, which is not necessarily when most of us are driving by it and seeing it mostly empty. So, this will also necessarily be part of the public engagement process and getting, the community on board with a project like this. But I think what I have heard from folks who live down there is that, they're, whether we can have a philosophical conversation about like whether the village should or shouldn't be, in a position of providing parking spaces for everyone who lives in these complexes. But the fact is, folks who live in the Village Green and Draper Lane there are more cars than there are spots in those private properties. Many of those residents currently use 99 Cedar and are already concerned about congestion in that area. So that's just something that we should be aware of and consider. And I agree that taking away, I think I would love to see some creative ideas about that and also, connecting it better to the rest of the village so it can be used during the day as parking through, whether it's through some sort of trolley or something else. But I'm just adding my voice to the choir saying we should prioritize maintaining municipal parking.
Just because we put an RFQ out doesn't mean we have to accept any of
Right.
the offers, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Are you comfortable with that language?
Can I,
I'm comfortable with the language. I think we should get the proposals in and see what the bandwidth is and what people are willing or want to do. And then if we're not committed to having to pick one of them because we put the RFQ out, then I'm comfortable with it. If we're required to commit to one of them, then I'd have issues.
And I think Nicole makes a good point, and Michael Patino makes a good point, and Jessica makes a good point.
What about my point?
I mean, that we want to encourage people to want to apply for this. So the more you strap people's hands, versus the fact is everyone in Village Green and Draper Lane does have parking spots. My mother lived there for 22 years. She had a parking spot. The visitors' spots were a little bit more of an issue. But we don't have to do anything. And as we stated initially when we were discussing this, we're going to have several public input meetings. And so this is not going to be decided in 5 minutes by the people sitting up here. This is going to be a community discussion and a community decision, and nothing's going to be 100% perfect. So in an ideal world, we will be able to maintain a large number of the spots that we have available for public parking, but it may not be 66.
Right. I'm not saying it
Yeah.
should say that.
Right.
What I'm saying is I just
Right.
think this is retention of public parking.
Right.
I just would have left it like that.
Right, I would say retention of public parking, but I don't know that, I think we'll get some ideas and we'll see. And if something looks good, great.
Okay.
If it
Everybody's
doesn't-
fine with that language? Okay.
The one other question that I have, Valerie, is I guess this is on page 2, paragraph mark A, that for purchase housing. My one concern is that anything that we were to build that's affordable stay affordable, and I'm not sure exactly what the language would be to make sure that once somebody buys a unit and then sells it, it doesn't become market rate, which is, I think, one of the things that happened over at Rochambeau when those were built for firefighters. They quickly rose to a market rate.
That's a thing that would happen with the lease agreement, Matt. So down the road, if a project were to move forward, as part of the agreement the village would make with the potential developer, you would stipulate that at that time.
But how does?
It's a little early for that.
Do we have the
Your point is well
ability-
taken. It's just, it doesn't need to be part of an RFQ process.
Can we do that, though, with a unit for purchase as opposed to a unit for rent?
Right, so that would be a deed restriction that we would place.
Right, that's correct.
So we do have that ability?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's already worked into your zoning code to begin with, those
Great.
requirements.
Question withdrawn.
There's a heavy emphasis on character with the neighborhood. So page 5, you have village seeks development and character of the neighborhood, again on page 6 at the top.
Yes.
Then again, on page 7, development principles, bullet point number 3. I think maybe there's a overly heavy emphasis on that. I mean, I agree that, you know, part of just the, you know, design review process is that that is an important point. I don't think it's okay that it's mentioned, but why so much in and about that?
Well, we can always amend it or look to locate, like, so the first time it's mentioned on 5, it's under the Palisade Cedar Street parking lot, so it's specifically about that particular site. And the second
Okay.
time it's mentioned, it's particularly pertaining to the 2 vacant Cedar Street parcels. But what we could do is just remove it and put it under development principles and just have it one time within the RFQ process, if you prefer. Or we can just remove it altogether. I think sometimes it's a little helpful to the developers to understand kind of like your little bit of your vision in terms of like the scale and massing that, you know, that so that they can come in with something that the board and the neighborhood might be happy with. And that's where we chose the word character, you know, just to kind of provide that flexibility.
But I think the key contextual question is scale
Yeah.
and massing, and not historicism or some other, you know, stylistic constraint we would put on someone. So I do think it's important to emphasize those first 2 points. I don't think it's important to emphasize what's under development principles, where, you know, complement historic Cedar Street. I mean, complement doesn't necessarily have to mean imitate, but I think you hit on it. Massing and scale is the right emphasis.
Okay, so
But we have specific things in the vision plan with guidelines and stuff for this area. And so I think that we should be emphasizing that, because I think a lot of times that gets ignored, and they're not going to come in with a full design, right? That's really going to happen in the ongoing process, but they should know from the outset that it's important to the village to adhere to those things.
To what exactly? What do you mean?
Well, like if you go into the vision plan, we have everything done by neighborhood as to like what's in there and what we'd like to see and like what's kind of in character with that neighborhood, because they're all so diverse from each other, right?
Yeah, but there's no specific reason that you don't have to perpetuate a certain architectural style.
I don't think that's what this says. It's just advising them that we have guidelines already in our village code and our vision plan that they should be aware of and take into consideration when they're planning this project.
I'll just read this. The project that employs architectural designs that complement the historic Cedar Street and Main Street downtown district. So that sounds to me like your dictating style, as opposed to what I think matters more, which is scale and massing.
Then my point is, like, why do we even have those things in the vision plan? Why do we even have those design guidelines if they're just so unimportant that they don't need to be highlighted to somebody coming into the village for the first time to develop property? I mean, they're there for a reason. They're approved in the code for a reason. People spend a lot of time on them.
But there's also an ability to not have you don't have to follow that stylistic implication. You simply don't. If you're looking at the vision plan, or you're looking at the any of the design guidelines, they don't force you to do that. And there's an implicit argument here that you would have to do that.
Couldn't we say like we have these?
I just don't want.
Well, no, there's a
I don't want to tie someone's hands because the interpretation of this is that you have to do some sort of like very specific style of building. I don't think that should be the case. I don't think that's what we should be mandating here.
Would it make sense to say something like we have, like point people to the sections of the village plan or other things and say, we have these things, we seek projects that I think complement, I mean, I'm not an architect, but I think the word complement gets at this.
I just think we have vision plan, we have we have design guidelines, they're already in place. So if you're going to do a project here, you've got to review those, you've got to understand what those mean. I think the reason I think massing and scale is important is because in another part, it's mentioned that this project, you may need to seek variances. And so that implies that maybe you can build a larger building than you might otherwise. So I think that's why scale and massing are important, and the other stuff just isn't.
Should it refer to the vision plan? Would that be?
I don't think there's no choice, right? If they're going to apply if someone wants to build a building in Dobbs Ferry, they have to go before the same reviewing boards anyone
Can
else
we
does, whether or
provide
not
that
they're doing affordable housing or not.
Can we
We do
acknowledge
have
that in
additional
the?
resources at the end that specifically have the 2010 Dobbs Ferry Vision Plan, the zoning code, the 2010 Downtown District Building Design Guidelines, and the Downtown Improvement Task Force information.
I mean, I don't have any problem with the way it reads now. I don't think it's superfluous. I don't think it's tying people down. I think it's one of the goals of the village is to have our Cedar remain like a quaint village, and that they should, I don't see why this language detracts from that or mandates something different than what everything else says.
It doesn't mandate, it just implies.
So, where do we go from here? Do you feel, Valerie, do you think you can?
Well, what I can do is I can maybe, so we emphasize architecture in 3 different sections, so maybe I'll reduce the number, but
Okay.
like retain, and then maybe add some information on massing and scaling within that complement. So, and I'll work with the language a little bit so that it's clear that it's like the overall intent, but it's not mandated.
Okay.
Is that
Okay with you?
That's fine.
Okay.
Just
a couple other things as part of the development principles, we specifically added that a project is sustainable and energy efficient to the furthest extent possible, including green energy solutions such as solar, geothermal, or passive house design. And then we also said a project that includes level 3 electric vehicle charging stations and bicycle racks. These were specific items that were identified by the village board.
I don't think that's correct. I don't think you
Okay.
can mandate a level 3 charger at an affordable, having EV chargers, yes, but level 3 is, as much as I want level 3 in the village, I don't think this is the kind of project that can shoulder level 3 charging. That wouldn't be in parking facilities. Like those are DC fast chargers. You need those to get on the road and go in the middle of a road trip. You don't charge overnight using level 3. Level 2 is sufficient.
Okay. And then the other point, the board had wanted to make sure that there was a public process beyond just the land use approval process. So we do have a specific section on there about the public process. And we also require that as part of the submission, which you can see on page 10, that the community engagement process needs to be part of the submission to from a responder from the RFQ. And then there was also another concern from the board that you wanted any responder to identify any potential or proposed funding sources from government agencies or programs or organizations and provide details of past experience with any of those programs.
Right. There's also, and this may be part of this, or maybe this is part of the evaluation criteria. But I think that we need to ask for the developer's experience managing properties over time, so that we can get a sense. Some of the developers that we had informational conversations with, their business model was to build, rent, and manage in perpetuity, and I'd like a sense of what's being proposed and what the experience is for managing affordable properties over time.
Okay. Anything else?
No, so once I make these last revisions, if the board wants, again, if the board wants to get any feedback from any boards or committees, I'm happy to do so. And I think we can, these are really minor adjustments, so I can rework those and have it ready for basically a final draft for the board's November 28th agenda.
Okay, so why don't you send it to us, and if
Okay.
we're okay with it, then it can be distributed to the other
Okay.
interested parties, and then we
Sounds
could
good.
go forward on 28th.
All right.
I think it's the Affordability Housing Task Force, right? I don't,
Everybody's, say that again, I'm sorry.
it's just, I think it's just the
Just
one
them?
group. Yeah, they've been intimate with this since the beginning. I don't know that at this stage it
Anyone else?
could
Okay,
go to anyone else.
okay, fine. Thank you for all the work on
Thank you.
that. Okay, so let's move to the resolution part of the meeting.
Do you have an appointment, Mayor?
Boy, I'm missing things. Thank you, Matt. I appreciate that. So I'd like to announce the appointment of Holly Malakian as the member of the Ad hoc Sustainability Task Force as recommended by the nominating committee. Holly submitted her application, met with the committee, and she was approved for the appointment. We appreciate everything that she's been doing and that she has done, and we look forward to her being an active member of that Sustainability DOPS Task Force. So thank you very much, Holly, for volunteering. We appreciate it. Now, on to the resolutions. What?
You have 5 minutes to finish this.
I am going to consider a resolution to adopt a negative declaration on the SEQA for the project known as pedestrian improvements at the intersection of Ashford Avenue and Grandview Avenue. By this resolution, we are, as the lead agency for the environmental review of the project, we are hereby determining that there are no significant adverse impacts associated with the project and adopts a negative declaration in connection therewith. Is there a motion as I outlined it just now? Trustee Patino, second. Trustee Rosen Asher, all in favor. That passes unanimously. Thank you. Action item number 2 is a resolution authorizing the village administrator to sign and execute an intermunicipal agreement between the village and the county to receive mobile radios in the event of mutual aid requests. In support of this, we received a memo from the chief dated October 27, 2023, whereas the county will provide mobile radios to be installed in the patrol fleet of the Dobbs Ferry Police Department so that the police department can now communicate directly with the county, outside law enforcement, fire, EMS, and other first responders in the event of an emergency. Is there a motion to authorize the village administrator to sign and execute such an agreement? Trustee Galen, second. Trustee Sullivan, all in favor? That passes unanimously. Action item number 3 is to consider a resolution authorizing the village administrator to sign and execute a prisoner transportation rate IMA between the village and the county. In support of this resolution, we received a memo from the chief dated October 27th, 2023, wherein the chief lays out the transportation will cover round trips for all prisoners remanded to Westchester County Jail by court order or required to appear before the local court within the municipality. Is there a motion to authorize that signing? Trustee Galen, second. Trustee Rosen Asher, all in favor? That passes unanimously. Action item number 4 is to consider a resolution authorizing the village administrator to sign and execute a police mutual aid radio system agreement with the county. Okay, so is there a motion to authorize the execution of such agreement? I think it's something different.
This is the Mars antenna, they call it, mutual aid radio system, whatever it's called. So the other one was for the equipment, this is more for the antenna.
Okay, Trustee Patino, second. Trustee Galen, all in favor. That passes unanimously. Consider a resolution authorizing submission of a grant application for electric vehicle charging stations. We discussed this at the workshop. We all thought it was a great idea. Just very quickly, because not everybody was watching now, was privy to what the workshop discussion was. So Rob, if you could just give us the very short version of it, we'd appreciate it.
Thank you, Mayor. During the workshop, as you mentioned, I put forth the request to move forward with the county program whereby the county and Con Ed, it's a 50-50 program between those two entities. And again, I'm meeting with them tomorrow to actually see some sites out there in the village to actually move forward with the IMA to actually apply for the grant, which is due in mid-January. But the first step is actually having a site visit to see where the most practical places are around the village. And then we submit an application and then we move forward.
Well, just so I'm clear, wasn't the county paying 50% and we're responsible for the other 50%?
No,
Or
the
we're
other
going
is
to get
by
money
Con
from
Ed,
Con
the
Ed
other
and not-
remaining 50%.
Right.
And there
These are
would be,
cost-free to us.
right, unless there's unusual placement, I mean, they're going to try to put it in their power sources, unless it's like 100 feet away, we'd have to pay for the extra cable and that kind of thing.
Right. And one thing to note is that we would do the outlay and the county would pay us back, I believe. So the 50-50 doesn't come directly out of their pocket. It's a reimbursement, I believe.
That's my understanding too, man.
Okay, so is there a motion to hereby authorize the village administrator to submit an application for grant funding for the purchase and installation of electric vehicle charging stations, and upon receipt of such funding, commits to pursue the implementation of this project? Trustee Rosen Asher, second. Trustee Galen, all in favor? That passes unanimously. Action item number 6 is to consider a resolution authorizing DPW to amend an existing resolution regarding purchasing a new vehicle. We also discussed this during the workshop, where the money had already been budgeted for the purchase of a vehicle for DPW. We were advised by the DPW foreman that that vehicle will not be ready until 2025 or 2026. In lieu of that, Mr. Trezor found a Jeep Cherokee that is not even a hybrid, a plug-in at a cheaper price. So we decided, well, we'll decide right now officially. So is there a motion to purchase the 2022 hybrid Jeep Grand Cherokee for the Department of Public Works? Trustee Sullivan, second. Trustee Patino, all in favor? That passes unanimously.
Is that our first plug-in car?
I think it is, right? It's the first plug-in car that we have, right?
First of many.
Do we have a
All
plug?
right.
Do we have
Don't ask
a
us logistical
plug, do we have a plug and a place to plug it in? I guess you could plug it in.
Get one.
Well, no, it doesn't require the EV charging station. It's a regular 110 outlet or a 220.
Yeah,
So
we
you'd be-
still need one of those out there.
You'd be plugging it at DPW, right?
Right.
Steve's gonna bring a long cord in the back of his car.
Extension cord.
Comes with a cord, I'm sure.
Sure it does.
Don't be sure.
Okay.
Very easy to use.
Action item number 7. Right?
How was 7?
I think that was 6, wasn't it?
No,
That was
that was
6.
6. Now we're, yeah.
We have consider a resolution authorizing a budget transfer to purchase a 2022 hybrid Jeep Grand Cherokee for the building department. This was also in last year's budget for a vehicle for the building department. We did not do that, so we're rolling it over to this year's budget. And we're also getting the last, I believe, hybrid Jeep plug. Is it a hybrid or a plug-in also?
It's
Plug-in hybrid.
Gas and electric plug-in.
Okay, plug-in hybrid Jeep Cherokee for the building department. Is there a motion to authorize that? Trustee Galen, second. Trustee Patino, all in favor. That passes unanimously. Action item number 8 is to consider a resolution authorizing the Dobsbury Youth Services Council to host the 11th Annual Holiday Hustle. This is always a great event. It's been a lot of fun. I want to thank, I think it was Justin's idea. I'm not even sure if it was Justin's idea, but it was someone's idea to bring it to us, and it was just taken off ever since then. And we appreciate Trustee Patino, dressed as Santa, leading us on his motorcycle. Is that, you going to do that again?
Yeah.
I think you should run
That
it
was
this year,
you,
Mayor.
right? Only if you run in it.
I ran it last year.
Did she run in it last year?
She did. I've seen her
Did she
run it.
finish
I
it?
haven't run it every year. I did miss a couple of years because I was away, but I did. I've run it many times.
We should have a trustee race.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, you
Yeah, I'm
too.
not participating. I'll do Pilates.
I'll run, but I'm not.
I'll do a Pilates hustle.
Different kind of race.
Pilates down Main Street.
So is there a motion to authorize the Dobbsford Youth Council, as I laid out before? Trustee Galen, second trustee Sullivan, all in favor? That's hereby approved. That race route is between the hours of 8 a.m. and 1 p.m., so you have to finish that by 1 p.m.
Ooh.
I'm slower than it used to be, but I'm not that slow.
It's a great event. We see people, when we see the times and the locations, people come from all over the tri-state area to run in that race.
800 people.
Yeah, so it's great. Action item number 9 is to consider a resolution, I guess retroactively, to approve the street closure of Bel Air Drive for October 31st, 2023. I guess they're asking for permission after they did it, so.
We don't have a
There's a
choice.
late entry.
Yeah, they approved it before, but we didn't have a board meeting.
Right, so is it approved?
Yes.
What if it
All in
wasn't, though? Like,
favor?
what would we do?
Trustee Patino, second trustee Galen, all in favor, that passes unanimous.
And I expect it to be great fun.
Hope it doesn't rain.
Don't miss it.
Action item number 10 is to consider a resolution to establish an ad hoc transportation partnering committee and appoint 3 committee members. This is part of the Route 9 Complete Streets Engineering Project. We would
Can we
direct.
discuss something about this, Mayor?
Let me finish my,
Right.
this is part of the Route 9 Route 9 Complete Streets Engineering Project. I think we have already appointed people to the joint committee, and now we're asked to do this. So Matt, you want to say something?
Yeah, let me just explain what's going on here. So we appointed out of the history of this project, we appointed 2 committees. We appointed the joint committee, which was a committee made up basically of village officials. We appointed an advisory committee. Deputy Mayor Sullivan and I and the village administrator were at the kickoff meeting for the project that's being run by an engineering firm that was hired by the DOT called WSP. They wanted to have a separate stakeholders committee. They were unaware of the previously constituted committees. As I look at this, what we've basically done is we've taken Rob and myself from the joint committee and Donna Cassell from the advisory committee, and we're designating the 3 of us for this sort of sponsors committee. I forget what they call it, TCP. They have some acronym for it. But
PC.
it feels to me like this is a moment for a little bit of a wider perspective, and I was hoping that we could have discussed in advance of this meeting the idea of seeing if we could bring in the school district, because they're a significant player on Route 9, and also in some form, whether it's the downtown committee or the Chamber of Commerce, some representation for merchants, even though we don't have retail space on Broadway, or except in the little bit of the gateway. One of the purposes of the Route 9 redesign is to help figure out how to funnel business to the village downtown. So I'm all for adopting this, but I think we should also have a subsequent conversation about maybe expanding beyond just the 3 people here, so there's a little bit more sort of widespread representation.
Mayor, if I can just respond real quick. Yeah, at the meeting, I believe it was mentioned that they wanted to have a maximum of 3 representatives from each municipality. And they said also they would have stakeholders can come in, as you mentioned, could be from schools or other big businesses, to have a say, but not to be officially appointed to the TPC, the Transportation Committee. So there is that availability to have to bring in another stakeholder.
All right.
Temporarily.
If that's,
Yeah, they wanted a max of, it wasn't like part of the general session, but like right after the people were asking questions of them, the
I
different
see.
mayors, and they said they only wanted a max of 20 people, which really only left 3 people per community because they still wanted someone from Senator Cousins' office, and they had a couple of other people that were mandated. But yeah, they have the public hearings or public meetings or whatever where they want the other stakeholders. Plus, you guys can still talk to them throughout the process or have like one of those advisory committee meetings and discuss what you guys can then bring to the TPC joint meeting.
Okay, that's fine. I had not heard that they wanted to limit it to 3, so.
Yeah, I apologize, Matt, because I saw your email and I meant to call you and tell you, and I just hadn't had a chance with my work schedule.
That's all right.
Okay, did I make the motion? I already forgot.
No.
No. Okay, so is there a motion to appoint the people as outlined in this resolution? Trustee Rosen Asher, trustee Patino, all in favor. That passes unanimously. Thank you. Action item number 11 is to consider a resolution accepting the resignation of employee number H7Z072869. We have received a resignation letter from this employee, and we need a motion to hereby accept the resignation of this employee. Is there a motion? Trustee Galen, second. Trustee, someone's just resigning. It doesn't, I need a
We don't
resignation.
need to know
Trustee-
who, it's just a number, like,
Trustee Rosenberg, I think we sent,
Confidentiality, I mean,
yeah.
that's why it wasn't published.
You don't list the person's name.
All right.
Yeah. Trustee Rosenberg, all in favor? Okay, that passes unanimously. I have to add 2 items to the agenda. One is a resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Dobbs Ferry appointing Janet Rosoff as the Climate Smart Communities Coordinator. This is,
Mr. Mayor, can we do the audit first?
I'm really messing up today.
I thought you purposely did that. I thought you thought the audit was making the audit.
Is there a motion to approve the audit of claims as submitted and recommended by the village treasurer? Trustee Sullivan, second. Trustee Galen, all in favor? That passes unanimous. Is there anything else that I forgot?
I think you also reversed the order of the 2 new resolutions.
So, I'm adding action item number 13 to this, and this will be a resolution to appoint Janet Rosoff as Complete Smart Communities Coordinator. This is part of the Climate Smart Community Task Force that will help us get to a Silver Star or a Bronze Star? Silver Star. Okay, so is there a motion to appoint Janet Rosoff as CSC Coordinator, an unpaid and voluntary position for the purpose of fulfilling the necessary actions related to being a climate-smart community on behalf of the Village of Dobbs Ferry? Trustee Sullivan, second. Trustee Galen, all in favor? That passes unanimously. Action item number 14 is a resolution of the Board of Trustees to create a subcommittee of sustainable Dobbs, a CSC task force. This, again, is necessary for us to take the next step into becoming a higher level of designation from the state of New York, and this outlines what we will be doing in order to do that. And the resolution will identifies what we will do and what we're doing. We're creating the subcommittee, which shall be constituted as specified by the following terms of reference. And the resolution outlines what the membership will be made up of. Going forward, there's a representative of the mayor and the Village of Dobbs Ferry who serves as liaison to Sustainable Dobbs will be responsible for maintaining the collaborative relationship. The village will now rename the task force to be called Sustainable Dobbs, and we are appointing a CSC coordinator who will take certain action to make sure that we go forward with our quest for a higher finding and a higher level. Is that outlined properly, would you say, Rob?
I think that captures the gist of it, yes.
Okay, so is there a motion to establish this subcommittee of Sustainable Dobbs? Trustee Sullivan, second. Trustee Patino, all in favor? That passes unanimously. It feels much later than 8:58.
Seriously.
It's daylight savings time ending. Everything feels wrong.
Let's do trustee liaison reports. So, Trustee Galen, you're first.
The downtown committee is working closely with the rec department and the chamber on things like some holiday events that hopefully will be coming up. And also has been thinking about resiliency for the committee going forward.
Okay. Trustee Sullivan? Trustee Rosen Asher?
The Human Rights and Diversity Committee will be hosting a walk on Wickers Creek on the Saturday after Thanksgiving. I'm going to say the 26th. I did it last year. It was fabulous. So everyone should be meeting at the corner of Cedar and Main around 10:45, and the walk will kick off at 11. We're also addressing some concerns that residents have with some hate incidents that have happened in, not in Dobbs Ferry necessarily, but in neighboring communities, and some things that have been happening here. So stay tuned for more on that. And I just want to remind everybody that we do have a Human Rights and Diversity Committee as set up by the mayor. Many villages do not have that. We have a very dedicated bunch of people who want to be helpful. So if there are any residents that have any issues or concerns, feel free to contact me and I will help you reach out to them.
Thank you for that, Sherry. That's very important to bring up to people's attention. We do have this committee, and we are looking at creating some public forums where we could address issues that have arisen, and the Human Rights Committee has put forth a plan, and I think it's a good plan, and I want to review it with the rest of the board and maybe even other communities, and maybe we could get the community's involvement in that. So I think it's important to know, and as Shari said, we are one of the few communities that have this committee, and they address difficult issues, and we appreciate everyone's involvement in that. I also want to reiterate that the police department is taking all of these events very seriously, and they have stepped up their patrols, and they are ever vigilant in protecting us and the businesses. So if you see something, certainly call the police department, and they can take the appropriate action. Did I skip you already, Mike?
No.
Okay.
The CAB has one more Sunday volunteer day. That's the 19th. It's coming up this weekend. It'll be at the Juring and Chauncey Park, 10 a.m. to noon. You can sign up on Eventbrite.
Okay, Matt, do you have anything?
Just the traffic committee was pleased with our conversation about Walgrove related issues, and is working on a recommendation for the board on what speed limit we might request from the state for Walgrove.
Okay, I want to say that November 11th, actually the celebration, the event was held on November 12th at Waterfront Park, Veterans Day, honoring the veterans. Deputy Mayor Sullivan, Trustee Rosen Asher, and Trustee Patino and I attended the event, and the Girl Scouts were there, as well as the veterans were there, and it was a very moving event, and we want to, again, reiterate our appreciation for everyone who served in the service on behalf of this country, and just want to say thank you. I also want to, again, note that we just had an election, and some of us were reelected on November 7th, and on my behalf, and I'm sure the rest of the trustees can certainly speak about it as well, I'm grateful for everyone's support in this. I put out a message on the mayor's message in the newsletter, and the gist of it is that certainly we recognize that the other candidates, it's not easy putting yourself forth as a candidate. We appreciate the fact that they had issues to address, and again, I invite everyone and anyone to participate in the village by joining a committee or volunteering in any way that they feel that they could be of help to the community. So Again, thank you to everyone who has supported us. We look forward to working hard on your behalf for the next 2 years. And if you want to make a difference and want to make a change, please look at our website for what committees are available and fill out the necessary application. Anybody else want to talk about that? They're certainly free to.
I think that it's wonderful that we have people in this community who stepped up and wanted to do what they felt was the best thing for the community. And I'm very grateful for everybody who voted. We represent everybody, whether you voted for us or not. We're here to listen. We encourage you to come to meetings or watch them on Zoom. Email us, we will get right back to you, but we're here to serve everybody in the best possible way that we can.
You want to say anything, Mike?
No.
Okay, Matt, you want to add anything?
I think Shari said it all.
Why
Mayor?
How come I don't say it all? How come I don't make these points?
Mayor?
Okay. Yes, Liz.
I just had two things I wanted to say. On Thursday of last week, I attended a ceremony at Springhurst honoring veterans, and I just wanted to thank Principal Brown and the students of Springhurst for all that they did to honor us. We were each given a bag that contained cards written by the students, which was absolutely adorable. And I'd also like to specifically thank a couple students that were cards were in my bag. Joseph, Jordan, McCall, Alex P., Maggie, two different students named Amelia, Margot, Ethan, who's age 5, Richard, age 5, Zaidan, my 3rd grade friend, Darcy, Catherine from the 4th grade, and this one was signed a random 5th grader named Kayla. So I thought that was pretty funny, but thank you all so much for that. That was very nice and touching. The other thing, tomorrow I'm going to start the collection for Toys for Tots, and anybody can just bring a new unwrapped toy to Village Hall. It can also be mailed to me at my address at 112 Main Street. Just a little update from last year, there were 38,992 toys that were distributed to 28,274 children. So it was a very successful campaign, and we certainly appreciate everybody's generosity and hope to outdo that number this year. And this is my 40th year collecting toys, so anyway.
I don't believe that, Liz. You're way too young.
I do lie a lot, but, so that's all I have, but thank you.
I'm just going to echo Larry's usual sentiment that you can also order gifts for Toys for Tots and deliver them to Liz through Amazon. You don't have to buy it and mail it yourself.
I tried that.
Shop local.
Sorry.
I forgot, Liz, you specifically thank you. You were a veteran, so thank you
Yes.
for your service and everything that you've done. I apologize for not specifically mentioning you, and thank you again for all the work that you do with the Toys for Tots, so thank you. If there's nothing further, is there a motion to? Yeah, Rob, can you remind everybody about Record Retention Day?
Quick reminder, the board previously approved retention day for the 17th, so thank you. We can certainly use a couple hours to actually organize ourselves. Thank you.
That means the office is closed the whole day? Okay, so the office, don't come to the office on Friday. Okay. Is there a motion to close tonight's meeting? Trustee Rosen Asher, second. Trustee Galen, all in favor? That passes unanimously. Thank you, everybody.